pilgrimage sites and 19 wells in Sambhal, including that of the Bhadrak Ashram, Swargadeep and Chakrapani. Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath making a Save Sanatan pitch yet again. On the 5th of December, in a veiled jibe at the opposition, Yogi Adityanath, the Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister, had stated that the DNA of Babur, whose general carried out atrocities in Ayodhya and Sambhal 500 years ago, the perpetrators of Hindu atrocities in Bangladesh and the divisive forces in Bharat were identical. Today again, he was steadfast in his Save Sanatan stand when he referred to the plight of Hindus in neighboring countries, particularly Bangladesh, Pakistan and Afghanistan, condemning the atrocities faced by the Hindu community and calling for the preservation of Sanatan values. He also said, and I quote, "Our sages gave the world the concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the world is one family, thousands of years ago. Sanatan Dharma has always been a refuge for all faiths during the times of crisis. But have Hindus been treated the same way? The violence in Bangladesh and previously in Pakistan and Afghanistan reflects the challenges faced by the Hindu community." Mentioning Kashi Vishwanath Dham, Ayodhya, Sambhal, which he said was believed to be associated with Kalki Avatar and Bhojpur, the Chief Minister asserted that Hindu temples have been repeatedly targeted for centuries. He made a strong pitch for Sanatan while addressing a gathering at the Asarfi Bhavan Peeth in Ayodhya.
कि अगर विश्व मानवता को बचाना है तो उसका एक ही मार्ग है, सनातन धर्म का सम्मान करो। सनातन धर्म सुरक्षित है तो दुनिया में सब कोई सुरक्षित है। हजारों वर्ष पहले हमारे ऋषियों ने हमें एक ही प्रेरणा दी, अयम निज परोवेति गणना लघु चेतसाम उदार चरितानाम तो वसुधैव कुटुंबकम। और याद करिए, दुनिया के अंदर अकेले सनातन धर्म है जिसने दुनिया की हर जाति, हर मत, हर मजहब, हर संप्रदाय के लोगों को उसकी विपत्ति के समय शरण दे करके संरक्षण दिया है। लेकिन क्या दुनिया के अंदर ऐसे ही हिंदुओं के साथ भी हो रहा है क्या? ऐसे ही हो रहा है क्या? आज बांग्लादेश में क्या हो रहा है? पाकिस्तान में क्या हुआ था? इससे पहले अफगानिस्तान में क्या हुआ था?
So now the larger question is this Astha speaking, or is it trying to ensure that there is a certain vote bank that doesn't shift away from Yogi and the BJP? Tuin Sinha, national spokesperson of the BJP with us, Faizan Kidwai, spokesperson of Samajwadi Party with us, and Anand Ranganathan, author, political commentator and scientist with us. Namaste. Namaste, and thank you for joining us this evening. We'll try and go across to Tuin Sinha first up. Tuin, how would you respond to what Yogi Adityanath has said? Because some, although these are absolutely two variant aspects, are drawing parallels with what he said and also what Mohanji Bhagwat said.
Well, namaste, Anand, namaste, everybody. You know, India is a civilizational nation, and the civilization draws its roots in cultural roots in Sanatan ethos. That's a fact which everybody needs to accept. Those not accepting, and those, like Rahul Gandhi, who believe that India's history started with, the invasions in 1198 AD, the country has shown them their place. So the country is in a revivalist mode, and that needs to be respected. When I hear Yogi Ji's speeches, he is particularly perturbed, he's particularly anguished by what has happened in Bangladesh in the last 4 months, especially 2,000 plus attacks on Hindu homes. And I think, that is something which has repeated itself time and again over the last 200 years across the subcontinent. In fact, we saw the same happening in Kashmir in January in 1990. And the demography war is for real. We have had Samajwadi Party MPs or MLAs claiming that 2027 में आपका क्या होगा, हमारी आबादी इतनी बढ़ रही है. The same is being done by Firad Hakim, the right-hand man of Mamata Banerjee. So this demography threat is for real, and this is precisely what Yogi Ji has been warning the country against, because this demography war is perpetrated and encouraged by certain political parties. In the south, you have people who are talking about eradicating Sanatan. And the Congress party encourages all this talk through its silence in some places and by consciously encouraging it in other places. So I think, the demography threat is for real. What is happening in Bangladesh could happen in other parts, in some of the parts of the country. And I think that is precisely what Yogi ji is highlighting.
So it's not it's not about trying to corner the Hindu vote.
Not at all. Not at all. Yogi ji has lived his faith day in and day out. He has not changed a bit from 2017 or from the time that he entered politics in 1998. His values, his thought process has been pretty much the same in the last 26 years that he has been in public life.
Faizan Kitwai?
Hi, good evening to everybody. See, Tuhin says that Yogi ji hasn't changed a bit since 2017 or since whenever he started. This is not something you should be proud of. A person should evolve with time and become more tolerant. This is not a good thing. You shouldn't be boasting about it. You should be silent. If somebody says, has he changed? You said, yes, he has changed for good. But unfortunately, he hasn't. See, Nelson Mandela, it's not exactly a quote. This is what he felt. He said, those in power often try to hide their failures by dividing people and pitting them against each other. Some politicians fall often and then they make it a habit to divert attention from their failures. This is exactly what Yogi ji is doing. Yogi ji also suffers from what we say a God complex. I'm sure everybody remembers a very popular character from a serial which says, "Kabhi kabhi to lagta hai Apunish Bhagwan hai." But I'm happy that the Honorable Supreme Court, while making an observation about the bulldozer Jungle Raj, called it unconstitutional. It's against the right, Article 21 of the Constitution, which gives every individual the right to shelter. But unfortunately, this selective targeting in Uttar Pradesh is happening. I'll quote you a few reports. There's an Indian Express report of 2020-22. It says 105 properties were demolished. Majority belonged to Muslims. Via report says 75% of those targeted by bulldozers were opposition party members and Muslims. A fact-finding committee, which is Citizens for Justice and Peace, it says in BJP-ruled states, bulldozers are disproportionately used against opposition members and the Muslims. An investigation by Hindu, the paper says, in UP, no action is taken against BJP leaders who are inciting violence, giving hate speeches, but minorities and opposition party members are constantly targeted. There are many such reports I can quote, I can go on and on. But to the Bharatiya Janata Party spokesperson, to Tuhin, I'd like to say, he's a very reasonable person and a decent human being. Tuhin, you should question Mr. Adityanath. There is vast unemployment in Uttar Pradesh, in India at large. There's an SSO figure, which जो आपकी सरकार ने रोक दिया पिछले कुछ वक्त से, that unemployment is highest in the last 45 years. But instead of solving that issue, you people are diverting attention. You are creating this rift, this divide on communal lines. Is it something good that is happening in Uttar Pradesh or in India at large? Mr. Bhagwat has pointed out earlier, made a comment today also, he made a comment कि जो धर्म के नाम पे जो बार-बार ये मंदिर मस्जिद की बात कर रहे हैं, they are trying to politicize it, gain some political benefits from it. So Tuhin, I would genuinely ask you to go and counsel your party leaders to stop this drama, because क्या होता है Tuhin, people of India at large are very good. They are either it be Hindus or Muslims. They are very nice. You can fool them sometime. But you can't fool them all the time. Eventually, देखिए 2024 में जो आपका तरक्की का रथ रोका गया था, वो 27 में पूरी तरह से ध्वस्त हो जाएगा इलेक्टोरली, क्योंकि जो उत्तर प्रदेश की जनता है, they have seen through it, and there's widespread resentment against the way Mr. Adityanath is functioning. This selective targeting won't be beneficial for the country at large and for your party also.
Right. Quick response to Insina before I go to Dr. Ranganathan.
I don't know why my friend Faizan does not want me to question Ziaul Rahman Barq. The person who has been indulging in theft of electricity for the last 10 years amounting to 1.91 crore. And if I go to his grandfather, Bashirul Rahman Barq, he is notorious for statements like Sharia should be implemented in the country. He in fact welcomed the Taliban takeover of Afghanistan 3 years ago. But my problem is that, this is the kind of radical group to which Samajwadi Party caters. Imagine the level of theft which may have been taking place in Sambhal if the MP over there has not been paying his, and this is the same mentality, the S.A. Basha mentality in Coimbatore a few days ago, 4 or 5 days ago. Procession thousands of people participated in the procession where he was being cremated. The same person who was involved in a terror blast in 1998. Samajwadi Party needs to grow out of this mentality where some of its leaders, particularly the radicalized ones, are still struggling to come to the notions of a modern nation state where they are living in a parallel world where they feel that they can bully Hindus in that region.
Can I rebut? Can I?
Where Doctor, if you allow me, okay, quick rebuttal and then I'll bring in Doctor.
Okay, so this is like ये BJP. This is your Sangeet Som. ऑफिस से उठा के लाऊंगा वहीं सीधा कर दूंगा. He's talking this, saying this to a bureaucrat. ये आपके संगीत सोम हैं. Then उसके बाद your BJP Bal Mukund enters a religious place, Muslim religious place, disrespects people where women were also there. आपके BJP के संगीत सोम का तो वीडियो सुना गिरिराज से कि सब लोग जमा हो जाओ, मारो थप्पड़ मुसलमानों को. एक हैं आपके नीतीश राणे, he says we'll forcefully enter mosques. Tuhin, you tell me, are these good statements? Is this the way a civilized society should function? I am not condoning anything wrong that somebody is doing. But when there's selective targeting, then my dear friend, आप एक अच्छा narrative set नहीं कर रहे हैं, आप देश तोड़ रहे हैं. आप उस वक्त देशभक्त नहीं, आप देशद्रोही बनते हैं.
Now there are a few questions. There are a few questions I'd just like to put out there, and it is for the viewers and also the individual spokespersons. Before I ask Dr. Ranganathan to offer his comments, in 1972 and in 1978, when a whole lot of people had to run away from Sambhal for 46 years. Temples that had been shut down, areas that had been encroached, wells that had been covered. Under successive governments of the Samajwadi Party, were these opened? Were these people rehabilitated? Why were these temples kept in lock and key? When that only 5 set of people as ordered by the court are supposed to be present. When the survey was happening at the Jama Masjid, including the Muslim Paksh and its lawyers, did or did not an MP force his way into that area without the permission of the courts and also overruling the mandate of the courts? And did he or did he not intimidate the people to stop the survey immediately? Did he or did he not go ahead and spread misinformation? Were his and his supporters not present there trying to unleash mayhem when a court-ordered survey was happening sometime in the 19th of December? Multiple questions remain. And is this entire aspect of communal harmony or social harmony the responsibility of only one section of society, or is it a collective responsibility? And if there is a place which historically is supposed to be a place of astha for Hindus because it is supposed to be deemed to be the birthplace of the 10th avatar of Vishnu, should that place be a religious pilgrimage or not? Did any successive government of the Samajwadi Party, the BSP, the Congress, etc. ever raise this question that this is an ASI site? This is a site of, it's a national heritage site supposed to be under the aegis of ASI. Why is that the ASI is not in control of this particular place? How many state governments actually raise this question? So those talking about communal harmony and social harmony today, quite rich. That when you were in power or your allies or those who you fought with political battles in the past never stood up. So batting for one side while remaining quiet for the other is not secularism. That is also appeasement. Anand Ranganathan.
May I respond?
Yeah, thank you, Faizan bhai. I've been waiting very patiently, and I think it's wonderful. Yeah, Anand, can I?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening, Anand, and good evening to my fellow panelists. Both are great friends and they've contributed wonderfully to this lovely debate. But I don't want this to degenerate into Hindu-Muslim selective quoting or quoting one discrimination another. I think this has to be at a level that is much above that, possibly philosophical, because the questions you have raised, Anand, need addressing. Now, Tuhin, my good friend, addressed the yogi part of it. What you asked also was Dr. Mohan Bhagwat part of it. So please allow me 3 or 4 minutes to address that, because I think that's very important. At the outset, let me say this, Anand, I profoundly disagree with Dr. Mohan Bhagwat on his statement that Ram Temple is enough and that further demand for justice and reclamation should stop. This follows, as you know, his earlier 2022 statement, why look for shivling in every mosque? I'm sorry, but I find such statements flippant, frivolous, and an insult to all those who seek to legally correct historical injustices. And for him to conceitedly add that after the construction of Ram Mandir, some people think they can become leaders of Hindus by raking up similar issues in new places. I'm sorry, is an insult to true icons like Shri Hari Jain and Vishnu Jain, who have devoted all their lives for the Hindu cause and are determined to reclaim every demolished Hindu temple. I know I would be pilloried for this, and many would say, "Tu kaun hai bhai? Ek sangi ko Hinduism mat sikha, chal side pe ho." To them I say yes. You may say that I, as a Darwinian atheist, have no right to intervene, but I assert that this is not a Hindu issue or a Muslim issue or a religious issue. Looking for shivlings, reclaiming demolished, destroyed places of worship, correcting historical injustices, Anand, is an Indian issue. It is a civilizational issue. To say reclaiming Ram Janambhoomi is enough for Hindus is a facetious argument. Anand, the one hallmark of justice is that it has to be applied universally, because when one goes by logic, morality, first principles, objectivity, as science and law teach one to do, numbers do not matter. 4 or 40 or 40,000, each and every cry for justice must be heard. But when one goes by fear, emotion, coercion, subjectivity, numbers matter. Decide where you stand. Will you, for example, say, let us demand reopening of just 3 cases of atrocities against Kashmiri Hindus, only the most prominent ones: Nilkant Ganju, Girija Tiku, Lassa Kaul. No need to hurt Muslim sentiments by reopening 29,997 other cases. To many, Krishna Janamsthan would be more sacred than Ram Janamsthan. To others, Kashi Vishwanath would be more sacred than others. Yet others, their Kul Devi's temples would be above everything. Who is Dr. Bhagwat or anyone to decide or rank the importance of gods and their abodes? Every demolished temple must be resurrected. Every shivling unearthed. Every idol reclaimed. I said earlier, Anand, that this is a civilizational issue, because to me, the mark of a civilization is this unquenchable thirst of man to demand justice for his ancestors, to correct a historical wrong. For that exemplifies a continuity, an idea, a memory that can never be erased, that is worth fighting for and preserving. It makes justice greater than the sum of its parts. And that is why a civilization is not fleeting like an empire. To demand justice for a people who are dead for hundreds of years, it is almost as though you can feel their pain, their suffering, their destruction that has transcended the limits of body and time. And that is why history is a medicine, why catharsis is a cure. And today, when I see Hindus like Vishnu and Hari Jainji wishing to reclaim Kashi Vishwanath or Mathura, I see this as a catharsis, as a deliverance of justice to my ancestors who were wrong. I do not know how long it would take, what shape the reclaimed temples would take. I do not know when they would ultimately come up. In a way, being an atheist, these issues are not important to me. But I know for a fact that today, seeing Hindus fight for their rights, the deliverance has come. And it is confounding to me, because I am but a bunch of cells. Here today, gone tomorrow. But till the time I am alive, Anand, this concept of striving to correct a historical justice is vital. It defines who I am, what civilization I am part of. That erasing my genes cannot erase my civilization. The concept of justice is like memory, Anand, just 30 seconds. It keeps getting passed on until realized. And we have to realize it. The historian Sri Sitaram Goel has meticulously tabulated 1862 mosques that are built upon demolished temples. According to many, this number may be as high as 40,000. And that is why we need to look for each and every shivling, wherever it is, hidden or exposed, underground or over it. We owe it to our ancestors, Anand. We owe it to justice itself.
Frankly, those who truly follow the tenets of Islam, there should never be a shivling or a murti or any vigraha under any mosque. Because that is the reality. And the fact is that nobody is going up digging mosques. People are going and petitioning in front of the courts and asking the right bodies to do a survey and do it in the scientific manner. Now to come out, and those who say that if you dare go to the courts, which is supposed to be the legal right of every citizen, to ask for what people believe is a civilizational correction, and it should be proven by facts and by data. And if their claim is wrong, let the data show, let the images show. That's what they are saying. And if they say that this is not the constitutional right of somebody, and if there are people who will come out and say that these are just rabble-rousing individuals who are trying to do it for their 2-bit of fame, then Tuhin Sinha, do you not believe that those who claim to be custodians of Bharatiyata and Hindutva themselves are doing a disservice to society, social harmony, and also the historicity of Itihasa of Bharat? Do you believe, Tuhin Sinha, that these people who are going to the courts are doing for their 2-bit of attention?
Well, I think, Adarniya, Param Adarniya Sar Sanchalik
So do you
ji was
believe
talking
Yogi
about the-
Adityanath, when he stands up for
No,
the
no, when
causes of historical wrongs, Sambal's history, is it lost on all of us? Has
believe-
everybody forgotten the riots of 1972 and 1978? And the
believe-
exodus of Hindus from there who are coming back after 46 years?
Well, 40,000 temples in this country have been destroyed. It's a fact. And I think,
It's not a fact. It's an assumption. It's not a fact.
No, what assumption? You refer to
It's an
Rahul
assumption.
Gandhi's history.
Give me
you
concrete
refer
data.
to
Give me
communist
proof.
history.
Give me
Please don't
proof.
barge in
Okay.
between.
Give
Now
me
there
proof,
is
please.
concrete.
As
There
far
is
as-
concrete data that is stated 1862 mosques by Sitaramji in his
Sitaramji
chronicle.
was close to
so
RSS,
you will
he was an
dismiss.
RSS
You will
man.
cancel. No, you will.
Yes,
cancel.
that's an
I think so.
exaggeration.
You will
I'll tell
cancel him
Anand,
out. You will cancel
Anand,
him
would
out.
you please give me time to
You will
respond?
cancel him
Please
out.
give me time
but
to
the
respond.
fact
I
is,
don't
sir,
want to interject while Tuhin or anybody is
but the
speaking, but
fact is,
I would
I'll
want
come
to
to you,
put my
Faizan
point
Kidwai. I'll
across.
give you your time. But the fact is, Faizan
30
Kidwai,
seconds.
that this entire aspect of respect,
Anand,
this
I
entire
would think-
prism of respect, it's a railway track, sir. It runs parallel. One track cannot just run and the other one cannot decide to go in whatever direction they want to, while the other is supposed to toe the line. So that's one part. Yes, Tuhin Sinha, please. Yes, complete. Let Tuhin complete and
I
then
think
complete.
Param Adarniya Sar Sanchalik ji was talking about the future. There are disputes which have pre-existed for a very long time now, and those disputes obviously cannot be closed overnight. He was saying, he was probably thinking about the future, that this should not become a trend from here. Now, number two, I think he also had a subtle message in his speech for the Waqf board, because the way Waqf board has been usurping property without any basis, without any logic, I think that needs to be stopped. So, often the messaging is subtle. But having said that, coming back to the point, I think Samajwadi Party needs to do a lot of introspection on this show today. Since we are discussing Sambal, let Faizan justify, does he justify 1.91 crore power theft, which has been happening for the last 10 years? And I am telling you, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Bulldozer politics will not stop. It will just follow the strictures laid out by the Supreme Court. So it was not hasty in this case. Obviously, it happened after 4 weeks, after all the strictures were met. But people like Ziaul Haq,
Ziaul Barq,
who have been repeat offenders and who think that they are above law, should be dealt with strictly. And
Sir,
that is what
people who cheat and loot public money and public resources is one aspect. The other aspect, Faizan Kidwai, is, does the Samajwadi Party stand for and back only one Samaj? Are Hindus not part of the Samaj? And their rights, their astha, does it not mean anything?
Yes, I'll tell you. Samajwadi Party in Shri Akhilesh Yadav. Sir, Anand bhai, just let me complete and then you can put your point. So, of course, Samajwadi Party, Akhilesh Yadav himself is a proud Hindu. And Akhilesh Yadav, and he's an OBC also. So kindly Tuhin, tell me, if you respect all Hindus, then जब अखिलेश यादव उन्होंने चीफ मिनिस्टर का घर छोड़ा था तो उनका घर गंगा जल से क्यों धुलवाया? Why did BJP RSS people wash a temple that Akhilesh ji visited with गंगा जल? मैं कंप्लीट कर लूं साथ में एक साथ बहुत दे रहा हूं सब साथ में दीजिएगा. अभी इतना पॉइंट पे थोड़ी रुकने वाला हूं, बहुत दूंगा आपको, 50-60 पॉइंट दूंगा, ठीक है? And then, as Anand bhai said, reclaim everything. As Anand bhai was with me on a earlier debate, Anand bhai, if you remember, I gave you a rough figure that there are around 27 lakh temples and places of worship in India. So roughly around 3,000 per district in Uttar Pradesh, if we talk about that. So there'll be chaos, there'll be hatred. चलिए ठीक है, if you are ready to do that, fair enough. साथ ही मैं ये भी कहना चाहूंगा, अगर ये बातें खुलेंगी तो between the 12th and 8th and 12th century, when Buddhism was on a decline and Hinduism was on resurgence, a lot of Buddhist places of worship were taken over by the Hindu kings and the priests.
Faizan Kidwai,
Sir, I have
tomorrow
they also. Let me complete.
Okay.
I'll just quote.
Yeah.
And destruction of temples was not only limited to the Muslim invaders from a different faith. Somnath temple was demolished by Bhima I, Chalukya dynasty in 1026 CE. Markand temple in Jammu and Kashmir damaged by Lalita Mukhopadhyay of Kolkata dynasty. Mahakota temple in Karnataka by Vijay Aditya of Cholakya dynasty.
No. One minute. Hang on. Hang on.
No.
The Martand temple, the destruction of the Martand temple, the desecration of the Martand temple happened by the Muslim invaders at the time when there was a forceful conversion by the sword in Jammu and Kashmir. Let's not try and gloss over. Let's not try and get disjointed points of history to try and make a convoluted argument. Faizan Kidwai. No, simple point. No, 1 minute. One minute, Faizan Kidwai. Let me tell you. Let there be a single case where a Buddhist comes up and a Buddhist group comes up and says that this Vihara, this temple belongs to Buddhists, and let me see if there is a single Hindu group which comes out and threatens mayhem, riots, stone pelting, etc.
Anand,
like that is made
the source is Archaeological Survey of India. Question the Archaeological Survey of India then.
And let's see what happens. So Faizan Kidwai, I'll tell you what, when you point fingers at others, walk the talk, sir. Not a single Muslim group or Muslim Sangathan has walked the talk when they said they truly believe in Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb and a place of Astha, proven place of Astha of Hindus which was desecrated, destroyed in the past, has not been gladly, voluntarily vacated and helped restore that place. Give me one example where the Muslim Samudaya of Azad Hind, of Azad Hindustan has done that, sir. They have not. They have said, go to court, prove that it is a place of Astha. Despite me knowing it, I will continue to wash my hands and feet, continue to call it a fountain, and I will not allow anybody to prove whether it's a shivling or a fountain with respect to Gyanvapi. That's the Hindu Astha, that's what they believe. And then they turn around and say, let's talk secularism, let's talk harmony. Now, Anand Ranganathan have to wind up. Yes, 30 seconds, sir.
Yeah, so please, I beg not to be interrupted because Faizan Bhai raised important questions, but it's very hurtful because he's a very good friend. For him to doubt the scholarship of Sita Ramji is very painful because the most meticulously documented 1800 odd temples that were demolished were done by Sita Ramji. And for him to say he's an RSS guy, well, whom do we believe? Historians like Thapar and Habib would probably say, accuse Hindus, why the hell did you make temples under the mosques? Ye janna
Richard Eaton, sir. And number two, believe Richard Eaton, sir. Please, sir. Sorry. Please.
The second fact is that D.N. Jha and Romila Thapar were challenged by Sitaram Goyalji and other historians to give one proof of a Buddhist shrine or some place of worship demolished by Hindus. One proof. They were not able to give ever. And for you to say Martan temple was desecrated not by Islamic invaders but by Hindus, Faizan bhai, aap kaun se school se ye
Archaeological Survey of India.
1 minute. Tell me, I'm just saying, let anybody who's trying to threaten social fabric, communal harmony, etc., give us one example where a known, chronicled, itihas proven place of Hindu Astha was voluntarily vacated and given up by the Muslim Samudaya post-independence.
But sir,
it's not happened. And look at the audacity that a fight of 500 years of legal fight of Ram Janmabhoomi, when the Honorable Supreme Court adjudged in favor of the Ram Janmabhoomi and Ramlala Virajman, the tone adopted by the Muslims was, Jao aapko de diya. That was the tone adopted after such a tone adopted, sir. So let's walk the talk on both sides, sir. The rule of social harmony, the rule of trying to have the so-called Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb has Ganga and Jamuna together. The Sangam happens only when both make the effort. It cannot be a one-sided effort and a one-sided indication that you challenge us and we will come out to the streets. We challenge you, you fight it in court. That cannot be done. We've got to take a short break. Thank you. I've got to wind up. We run out of time. When we come back, big story coming in from Assam. Their target was the chicken neck. Their target was to somehow de-link the rest of Bharat from the northeast of Bharat. Stay with us.
Baba. This is the Makar Dwar of the Parliament behind me, where a complete ruckus was witnessed early today morning, when Congress and BJP MPs virtually came face to face. I'll now explain to you what exactly happened. So here in this particular compound, you see the inside enclosure where the security keeps us outside the media, and this is the enclosure from where the MPs enter inside and go inside the Makar Dwar. This is the main entry for MPs to go inside the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. What happened today was that there were over 100 MPs who had completely filled up this enclosure. These were the BJP MPs who were protesting, asking for the Congress to apologize for the insults that the Congress has purportedly made to Bhimrao Ambedkar all over the years. This protest was on for almost 15-20 minutes. I actually spoke to Anurag Thakur, who was standing here. I even saw Mr. Pratap Sarangi, in fact, standing here and giving media bites. All was well till then. About 150 MPs, I say, of the BJP were standing here with placards in their hands and protesting against the Congress party. What happened after that is that from there, from behind me, from there came the Congress delegation. Now, Congress was there at Bhimrao Ambedkar statue, which is behind this old Parliament building. As you can see, Priyanka Gandhi was marching along with the Congress MPs and was walking from there with the Congress and India grouping MPs. When they came here, India grouping MPs, they actually entered from this particular barricade. They entered from this barricade, the Congress MPs, and came into a face-to-face confrontation with the BJP MPs who were already parked here. So what we saw is where this point right now, where you can see a few MPs standing. This is where the Congress MPs and the BJP MPs came face-to-face. The CISF could not build a perimeter between them because, CISF doesn't really want to touch any MP. But almost for 10-15 minutes, there was a complete shouting, slanging match. They were sloganeering against each other, standing face to face, showing their banners. Congress MPs had Mr. Ambedkar's posters in them. They were shouting, Jai Bhim, Jai Bhim. The BJP MPs were saying, Congress, Maafi Mango. And this continued for at least 15 minutes before the Congress MPs, Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka Gandhi, both sat down exactly at this point. And the BJP MPs were in front of them. They sat down and the protest continued. Some of the Congress MPs, in fact, stormed through this particular area, through the BJP MPs, and went and stood on top of those boundary walls of the Makar Dwar as well. You can see those visuals where at least 20-25 Congress MPs stood on the boundary wall. One even climbed on top of that statue, which you can see. One of the women MPs I saw of the opposition stood up there as well. Now, in the middle of all this melee, what has happened is that there has been some jostling because the Congress MPs after that wanted to get inside. Rahul Gandhi, Priyanka Gandhi wanted to take this route and go inside the parliament, and the BJP's MPs were in front of them. This is where it seems Pratap Sarangi has got injured, as well as Mr. Rajput, two BJP MPs who've been rushed to hospital. In that pushing and jostling, they both got injured, and that is what the BJP's claim is, that Rahul Gandhi was actually trying to push through and pushing MPs, and that is how Mr. Sarangi has got injured. The India grouping MPs are in fact saying they were not pushing anybody, they were just trying to get inside parliament through the Makar Dwar, and they are saying that the BJP MPs were actually blocking their path and they were not letting them go inside, and that was unparliamentary, undemocratic. Both sides have their accusations, but now what we are hearing is that there could be an FIR against Rahul Gandhi. BJP wants to lodge an FIR against him for injuring Pratap Sarangi, and there was this video which has gone viral since then of Pratap Sarangi sitting on a wheelchair near that Makar Dwar and Rahul Gandhi going to him and inquiring what really happened, and Nishikant Dubey, the BJP MP, saying Sharam karo Rahul Gandhi, and Rahul Gandhi saying मैंने इनको नहीं मारा, इन्होंने मुझे धक्का दिया. So it's a game of allegations and counter allegations. The Congress says Mallikarjun Kharge, Rahul Gandhi, Priyanka Gandhi were pushed by BJP MPs. BJP MPs are saying Mr. Sarangi and Mr. Rajput, they
In a massive operation spanning multiple states, law enforcement agencies from Assam, Kerala and West Bengal dismantled a suspected terror module linked to Bangladesh-based terror outfits Ansarullah Bangla and also the Al-Qaeda in the Indian subcontinent, or AQIS. The operation, named Operation Praghat, was led by the Assam Police Special Task Force, or the STF, and resulted in the arrest of 8 individuals. The network, which included sleeper cells across the country, was allegedly engaged in recruitment, indoctrination and plans to incite violence and disrupt communal harmony in Bharat. 8 terrorists, including mastermind Noor Islam. The module was planned, they had planned attacks across Bharat. The module was in the process of collecting arms. The operatives were in touch with elements in Pakistan and also in Bangladesh, and these were all their handlers. And according to the police, the module planned to kill Hindu leaders. The big crackdown was conducted under Operation Praghat, and your channel has reported with exclusive inputs on how the radical churn in Bangladesh is aimed at destabilizing our country, especially after Sheikh Hasina's exit. Now, there's been a resurgence of Islamist extremism, which is a grave threat to regional stability. UNICEF's leniency towards radical groups, including a ban on the Jamaat-e-Islami being lifted, and extremists have been allowed to resurface with impunity and also reorganize themselves. Bangladesh is home to several radical groups, including the Jamaat-e-Islami, which is Bangladesh's biggest Islamist party. Radical Jamaat has seen significant influence in Bangladesh. There is Harkatul Jihad linked to the various terror activities. Harkatul Jihad or Huji B received funding from Al-Qaeda. Hizb ut-Tahrir was banned in 2009. It continues to operate underground, involved in various radical acts. Ansar al-Islam Bangladesh, branch of the Al-Qaeda in the Indian subcontinent, AQI's wing. Ansar al-Islam is involved in various terrorist activities. Neo-JMB is a splinter faction of the Jamaatul Mujahideen Bangladesh, and Neo-JMB is involved in various terrorist activities. Even the External Affairs Ministry, in a press briefing a short while ago, reiterated that agencies are acting tough on all security challenges and that such issues had been taken up with Bangladesh on Foreign Secretary's recent visit. The West Bengal STF has also confirmed that the chicken neck was the target. So what is chicken neck? Let's try and understand that very clearly. And this is the area which is called the Siliguri corridor. Now, this is how illegal influx from Bangladesh can actually happen, and it can destabilize Bharat. It's a very, very narrow area, and that's why it's called the chicken necks. That's the reference. This is the Siliguri corridor, and the elements were wanting to try and create trouble here somewhere so that all of Bharat, rest of Bharat, can be disconnected, delinked from the rest of Northeast Bharat, Northeast India. So this is the one that links and connects us, and that's the reason why the Chinese, the Bangladeshis, there have been many entities who have for many decades eyed this particular region, and that's what the Bengal ATF says. Their eyes were targeted at this. There was an intention to try and foment trouble and somewhere disruption so that this area could be chopped up or blocked altogether. And these machinations have happened even in the past via the PLA. Dr. Anand Ranganathan stays on with us, Sushant Sareen also with us, but let's quickly play out the reactions first.
सुरक्षा को लेके जो भी मसला होता है, उस मसले को बहुत ध्यान से और पूरे चुस्ती के साथ उससे हम लोग निपटते हैं. हमारे एजेंसीज हैं, जो अथॉरिटीज़ हैं, उस पर अपनी गतिविधियां कर रहे हैं. जहां तक सुरक्षा की बात है, बांग्लादेश के साथ हमारे बहुआयामी संबंध है. बहुत सारे मुद्दे इस पे बात किया जाता है और बहुत सारे इश्यूज हैं जिस पे हम लोग बातचीत करते हैं.
It is very clear from these arrests and the way these modules were being set up that they had been, targeting, they had been set up with a specific ideology of causing disruption in the country. Target of Siliguri corridor, which was mentioned over there.
Let's go across to our guest, Sushantji. Dr. Anand, namaste, and thank you very much for joining us here in this discussion. Dr. Anand, of course, stays on with us from Debate 1. But Sushantji, this is worrying. Bengal STF says something, Assam STF bust this entire module. These elements are all there. There are many who have that eye on the northeast of Bharat for different reasons.
Yeah, and Anand, that includes one of the advisors of the chief advisor of Bangladesh, who in his Facebook post talked about, annexing some parts of India. And then, of course, he must have been told that don't be an idiot. And he deleted that post, but at least we know his mindset, and we know the mindset of the current regime in Bangladesh, which has actually allowed many of these terror groups to operate with impunity. Many of these terror groups are now coming out of the woodwork. Forget about Jamaat-e-Islami, which is the mothership of terrorism, but also a whole lot of other groups like the Ansarul Islam Bangla. Those guys are coming out. You spoke about the new JMB. All these fellows are coming out. You've just yesterday or day before, you had one of our former ministers who was responsible for the Chittagong arms haul case with 10 trucks which were designed to go to insurgents in the northeast. That guy has been acquitted by the High Court. I don't know what kind of judiciary the Bangladeshis run. Well, I guess we know what kind of a judiciary it runs. And you have this Nobel Peace Laureate actually hugging their former genociders in Pakistan and opening up the field for the Pakistanis to play in Bangladesh. So it's a deadly cocktail which is developing, and I am not very sure if the kind of protest we might have launched today or the kind of statement that has come out from the MEA is going to be enough to turn the tide of Islamist terrorism coming into India from Bangladesh. We know that some of these groups were also operating below the radar screen in the past, but now they have a kind of a safe haven. Now they are operating freely. Now they are demonstrating on the streets, calling for the genocide of Hindus. They are openly operating on the streets of Bangladesh, calling for waging war against India and doing all kinds of other stuff. So when you have a situation like that, then for it to spill over into India, which is going to be the target, is par for the course. But I think what is important is that at least in this particular case, the Indian security agencies have acted with alacrity. They have picked up these guys. I'm sure they'll try and bust. Not just the module, of course, has been busted, but the networks will be busted. And that is something which is good also because you've got cooperation from two states which are run by opposition party governments, Kerala as well as West Bengal.
See,
whatever politics might be going on, at least on issues of national security, if there is that level of cooperation, then I think that needs to be welcomed.
But if you look at it, look at the entities. Sheikh Hasina alleged that the white man wants to create an East Timor-like area that includes Mizoram, Manipur, parts of Chattogram, that's Bangladesh, and also an extended part of Myanmar. On the other hand, we know the PLA and its machinations, the palm and five fingers that include Sikkim and Arunachal. The moment this Siliguri corridor, and if there are entities who are wanting to block this off, all of northeast of Bharat gets apportioned between 2 or 3 hegemonistic entities. Can we afford to take this so lightly, or do we need to do something very, very seriously to ensure that our own strategic interests are safeguarded? Because the Chinese are very clearly even engaging with the Bhutanese to try and get into that particular space where that would give us, strategic disadvantage, and the PLA strategic advantage. They are also in Doklam, where they are constructing villages. See, look at multiple points, and we have allowed these borders to be not defined at all, be it with Bangladesh, be it with Myanmar, or be it with Chinese occupied territory. Dr. Ranganathan.
Sorry.
Sushantji, I can't hear you. One second. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I said these borders are very well defined. There's no problem as far as the borders are concerned. The Chinese, of course, don't accept any border which doesn't suit their purpose. But I'll just say two things. One, look, this is going to remain a challenge. So I think we must have our counter moves. It's not as though the Bangladeshis don't have their own chicken necks. And it's not as though, the other countries can just get away and we are going to be babe in the woods and they can just walk in and, take over. And it's not as though the Indian security agencies are not aware of the security vulnerabilities in this region. But I think our biggest problem is going to be the kind of demographic transition which has taken place along the border districts. And that is something that we have called upon ourselves because of our vote bank politics.
Yes, Anandji.
Now, I was saying when Sushantji speaks for the first time, he takes away about 30% of what points I was going to make. But when he speaks for the second time, he takes the remaining 70%. So there's hardly anything left for me to say. Be that as it may, I have to think like a computer, Chacha, sorry, to think of new points to make. But I think there are a couple of additions that I can make. Of course, I agree with everything Sushant just said. Number one, it's ironic rather that the wheel has turned the full circle. Bangladesh, that used to be Pakistan, is now once again Pakistan, if you know what I mean. This is the situation India is in. And all our neighbors, in a very strange way, are not playing history or geography, but actually playing geometry with us. Pakistan wants to cut us off in a straight line. China wants this string of pearls. And now Bangladesh and other these jihadis want to triangulate us with Myanmar, Nepal and Bangladesh. Be that as it may. The problem is exacerbated. I'll tell you how. Because no Pakistani is a vote bank in India, Anand, as you know. And ORF came out, in fact, I think it was Sushant Paji who came out with this. Then the Bangladesh border is, I think, 17 times more porous than the Pakistan-India border. So the problem out here is Bangladeshis are vote bank in India. In fact, it was Shashi Tharoor who wrote in his book Pax Indica that there might be as many as 20 million illegal Bangladeshis in India. And he, insinuated that they were termites. They have escaped into the Indian woodwork, he said. So every politician cutting across party line agrees that there are Bangladeshi illegal immigrants in India. Now, The problem is so much more dangerous because they're a vote bank as well. And if you have terror outfits operating in a porous border, going and trying to actually cut off this so-called chicken neck, I think one has to stand up, not just take notice, but can I just say, because also because there is no BJP spokesman out here, so I can say it without being condemned. BJP has always used as an excuse that Mamata Banerjee is not allowing BSF this space to operate. You know, they always say this 30 kilometers, Mamata is not allowing us. I'm sorry. This is now beyond the state agreeing to it or not. You go ahead. You seal our border with Bangladesh ASAP. Because if you are worried about India, if you're worried about terror entering us, not just illegal immigrants entering us, you got to do it. Not worry about whether a state is going to allow you this territory or not. You have to do it, Anand.
It's not just one has to do it. The other thing is that this entire linking of that, if that slicing of the chicken neck happens, there is Nepal. On that side also we have got all the no man's land being occupied. CNN News 18 has done that story. You talked about Bangladesh. This entire seeping into Indian space and our own shrinking footprint there, Sushantji, how can this be countered? Something radical has to be done for decades on slicing, salami slicing at all ends to be wiped out and for us to reclaim our true territory and boundaries and redefine these boundaries.
Yeah, look, I think that's a rather radical solution which you are advocating right now. But I think what is more important is that, one, let's stop making excuses that the state government is not cooperating. You know, the Indian constitution gives the central government enough powers to direct the state government on a number of issues. And I don't think the state government is going to interfere in many of the things when it comes to national security matters, provided, you know, the steps which are being taken are not politically motivated. So I think let's not make that as an excuse. Number two, I think it's very important. Even though you might try and seal the borders, if you look at the borders, and incidentally that wasn't my study, that was an ORF study, but not by me. But even if you want to seal the borders, you can't seal the borders completely. I think it's not going to be possible. But yes, you can restrict movement. But I think what is very important is that this business that India should not fire at infiltrators coming in from Bangladesh, because, you know, these poor guys, they simply cross over, they don't know, they are only smugglers, they're only terrorists who are coming into India. Why is India firing at them? You know, it hurts the Bangladeshi sentiment. If it hurts your sentiment, don't come into India. We haven't asked you to come into India without a visa, right? And I see no reason why the government of India should not give shoot-at-sight orders to people who are crossing over the borders illegally. I think if that is a deterrence that can be created, that will be a good second step to take. And the third step has to be that you have to start identifying people and you have to start throwing them back from where they came. People asked and voted for a separate country in 47. They got another country in 71. I don't think they have any claim whatsoever on what is India today. So that is as far as Bangladesh is concerned. I think in Nepal there is a bit of, you know, grandstanding. It's always been there. But and I'm not forcing much of a problem from Nepal, even to that extent.
The fact is that the entire, if Nepal as a nation allowed its DNA to be changed and we sat watching, Bangladesh as a nation allowed its DNA to be changed and we sat watching. We didn't look at the trends that were happening there at that time. From what their identity was in 1971 to where they see their identity today in 2024. Somewhere we who were supposed to be there, who helped liberate them, did not give them the right ideology to follow or the right idea to follow as a nation. And that also is a reflection of where we had no idea who we are as a nation in this region. And defining that, if you have two entities around us, right next to us, with whom we have the most porous borders, who have ideologically shifted their entire tent poles of existence under our watch, then we are to blame. We are to blame because they are all parts of us. They are cultural extensions of us. Today, geographical boundaries, but there are supposed to be cultural civilization extensions of us and going back to thousands of years. And we've allowed that, all of that to wither away. I've got to take a break. We'll take this conversation forward as we know more details. Anand Ranganathan, Sushant Sareen, thank you very much. When we come back, it's a Cricket Next News 18 interview that sparks off a big storm. It's Ashwin's father, Mr. Ravichandran, what he tells us. And then Ashwin responds to say, my father's not media savvy, but Did Ashwin retire hurt? Stay with us.
Baba.
This is the Makar Dwar of the Parliament behind me, where a complete ruckus was witnessed early today morning, when Congress and BJP MPs virtually came face to face. I'll now explain to you what exactly happened. So here in this particular compound, you see the inside enclosure where the security keeps us outside the media, and this is the enclosure from where the MPs enter inside and go inside the Makar Dwar. This is the main entry for MPs to go inside the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. What happened today was that there were over 100 MPs who had completely filled up this enclosure. These were the BJP MPs who were protesting, asking for the Congress to apologize for the insults that the Congress has purportedly made to Bhimrao Ambedkar all over the years. This protest was on for almost 15-20 minutes. I actually spoke to Anurag Thakur, who was standing here. I even saw Mr. Pratap Sarangi, in fact, standing here and giving media bites. All was well till then. About 100-150 MPs, I say, of the BJP were standing here with placards in their hands and protesting against the Congress party. What happened after that is that from behind me, from there came the Congress delegation. Now, Congress was there at Bhimrao Ambedkar statue, which is behind this old Parliament building. As you can see, Priyanka Gandhi was marching along with the Congress MPs and was walking from there with the Congress and India grouping MPs. When they came here, India grouping MPs, they actually entered from this particular barricade. They entered from this barricade, the Congress MPs, and came into a face-to-face confrontation with the BJP MPs who were already parked here. So what we saw is where this point right now, where you can see a few MPs standing. This is where the Congress MPs and the BJP MPs came face to face. The CISF could not build a perimeter between them because CISF doesn't really want to touch any MP. But almost for 10-15 minutes, there was a complete shouting, slanging match. They were sloganeering against each other, standing face to face, showing their banners. Congress MPs had Mr. Ambedkar's posters in them. They were shouting Jai Bhim, Jai Bhim. The BJP MPs were saying Congress Maafi Mango. And this continued for at least 15 minutes before the Congress MPs, Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka Gandhi, both sat down exactly at this point. And the BJP MPs were in front of them. They sat down and the protest continued. Some of the Congress MPs, in fact, stormed through this particular area, through the BJP MPs, and went and stood on top of those boundary walls of the Makar Dwar as well. You can see those visuals where at least 20-25 Congress MPs stood on the boundary wall. One even climbed on top of that statue, which you can see. One of the women MPs I saw of the opposition stood up there as well. Now, in the middle of all this melee, what has happened is that there has been some jostling because the Congress MPs after that wanted to get inside. Rahul Gandhi, Priyanka Gandhi wanted to take this route and go inside the parliament, and the BJP's MPs were in front of them. This is where it seems Pratap Sarangi has got injured, as well as Mr. Rajput, two BJP MPs who've been rushed to hospital. In the pushing and jostling, they both got injured, and that is what the BJP's claim is, that Rahul Gandhi was actually trying to push through and pushing MPs, and that is how Mr. Sarangi has got injured. The India grouping MPs are in fact saying they were not pushing anybody, they were just trying to get inside parliament through the Makar Dwar, and they are saying that the BJP MPs were actually blocking their path and they were not letting them go inside, and that was unparliamentary, undemocratic. Both sides have their accusations, but now what we are hearing is that there could be an FIR against Rahul Gandhi. BJP wants to lodge an FIR against him for injuring Pratap Sarangi, and there was this video which has gone viral since then of Pratap Sarangi sitting on a wheelchair near that Makar Dwar, and Rahul Gandhi going to him and inquiring what really happened, and Nishikant Dubey, the BJP MP, saying Sharam karo Rahul Gandhi, and Rahul Gandhi saying मैंने इनको नहीं मारा, इन्होंने मुझे धक्का दिया. So it's a game of allegations and counter allegations. The Congress says Mallikarjun Kharge, Rahul Gandhi, Priyanka Gandhi were pushed by BJP MPs. BJP MPs are saying Mr. Sarangi and Mr. Rajput, their two MPs who are in hospital, were actually pushed by Rahul Gandhi and Congress MPs. I think this is not going to end here. We have CCTV footages. You have seen these big CCTVs atop the old Parliament building which face the Makar Dwar, and maybe the truth actually lies in these CCTV footages when they will be analysed by the CISF, and we'll know for sure that what had really happened when at that time, this whole thing happened. And you can still see some of the BJP MPs and some of the
A sudden decision to retire in the middle of a series, and this press conference which was addressed took the cricketing world and beyond by shock. In a minute and 46 seconds, Ravichandran Ashwin called time to his international cricketing career soon after the third test ended in a draw. It left many wondering what forced R. Ashwin to do so. A day after his shock resignation, his father, Mr. Ravichandran, spoke with the News 18 network, and he was speaking with Cricket Next and CNN News 18, and that added fuel to the fire. In an exclusive interview, Ravichandran Ashwin's father has alleged that his son was constantly being humiliated, which may have contributed to him announcing his retirement midway through the ongoing India tour of Australia, the Border Gavaskar Trophy. Like others, Ashwin's father was also caught by surprise when he heard about the decision. While many started talking about what his father had stated, Ashwin put an end to all conversation, saying his father wasn't media trained.
Only came to know the last minute. Actually, what was going in his mind, I don't know. He just announced. I too accepted with full pleasure, with full, what do you call that? But the way in which he gave that, there are many reasons, maybe that Ashwin only knows. Maybe humiliation.
Better to retire than face humiliation. Now, News 18 and Cricket Next had also reported, and as Ashwin was not willing to tour Australia, not go down for the Border Gavaskar Trophy for the ongoing 5-test match series. And the report states that Ashwin, who finished his career at 537 wickets in 106 tests, didn't want to tour Australia unless he was guaranteed a spot in the playing 11 in all the 5 tests. And then he decided to retire soon after being left out of the playing 11 in the Perth test. And that's when Bharat's decision to play Washington Sundar ahead of Ashwin in the Perth test seemed to be the tipping point. Although then we had Rohit Sharma come back and say very clearly that it was upon my insistence that Ashwin delayed it, because I said you play the Adelaide test, the pink ball test. And then in the pink ball test, Ashwin played, but Ravindra Jadeja came back into the mix in the Brisbane test. And perhaps that's where Ravichandran Ashwin decided enough is enough. Washington Sundar in Perth, Ravindra Jadeja in Brisbane, and it all seems to have added to everything. Now, whether or not it was Gautam Gambhir who decided in Perth, well, but in the absence of Rohit Sharma, but Rohit Sharma was there in Brisbane. So these calls were taken because the Indian team today works on the strategy as we go with the best suited playing 11. By the time all of this happened, Ashwin had decided that he is going to call time. Now he becomes one of the many Indian players, including Mahendra Singh Dhoni. There is Anil Kumble, Saurav Ganguly. All of them have called time on their playing careers during the Border Gavaskar Trophy, either in India or in Australia. That's all we have time for. Brass Tacks follows.
Baba.
This is the Makar Dwar of the Parliament behind me, where a complete ruckus was witnessed early today morning, when Congress and BJP MPs virtually came face to face. I'll now explain to you what exactly happened. So here in this particular compound, you see the inside enclosure where the security keeps us outside the media, and this is the enclosure from where the MPs enter inside and go inside the Makar Dwar. This is the main entry for MPs to go inside the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. What happened today was that there were over 100 MPs who had completely filled up this enclosure. These were the BJP MPs who were protesting, asking for the Congress to apologize for the insults that the Congress has purportedly made to Bhimrao Ambedkar all over the years. This protest was on for almost 15-20 minutes. I actually spoke to Anurag Thakur, who was standing here. I even saw Mr. Pratap Sarangi, in fact, standing here and giving media bites. All was well till then. About 100-150 MPs, I say, of the BJP were standing here with placards in their hands and protesting against the Congress party. What happened after that is that from behind me, from there came the Congress delegation. Now, Congress was there at Bhimrao Ambedkar statue, which is behind this old Parliament building. As you can see, Priyanka Gandhi was marching along with the Congress MPs and was walking from there with the Congress and India grouping MPs. When they came here, India grouping MPs, they actually entered from this particular barricade. They entered from this barricade, the Congress MPs, and came into a face-to-face confrontation with the BJP MPs who were already parked here. So what we saw is where this point right now, where you can see a few MPs standing. This is where the Congress MPs and the BJP MPs came face to face. The CISF could not build a perimeter between them because CISF doesn't really want to touch any MP. but almost for 10-15 minutes, there was a complete shouting, slanging match. They were sloganeering against each other, standing face to face, showing their banners. Congress MPs had Mr. Ambedkar's posters in them. They were shouting, Jai Bhim, Jai Bhim. The BJP MPs were saying, Congress, Maafi Mango. And this continued for at least 15 minutes before the Congress MPs, Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka Gandhi, both sat down exactly at this point, and the BJP MPs were in front of them. They sat down and the protest continued. Some of the Congress MPs, in fact, stormed through this particular area, through the BJP MPs, and went and stood on top of those boundary walls of the Makar Dwar as well. You can see those visuals where at least 20-25 Congress MPs stood on the boundary wall. One even climbed on top of that statue, which you can see. One of the women MPs I saw of the opposition stood up there as well. Now, in the middle of all this melee, what has happened is that there has been some jostling because the Congress MPs after that wanted to get inside. Rahul Gandhi, Priyanka Gandhi wanted to take this route and go inside the parliament, and the BJP's MPs were in front of them. This is where it seems Pratap Sarangi has got injured, as well as Mr. Rajput, two BJP MPs who've been rushed to hospital. In the pushing and jostling, they both got injured, and that is what the BJP's claim is, that Rahul Gandhi was actually trying to push through and pushing MPs, and that is how Mr. Sarangi has got injured. The India grouping MPs are in fact saying they were not pushing anybody, they were just trying to get inside parliament through the Makar Dwar, and they are saying that the BJP MPs were actually blocking their path and they were not letting them go inside, and that was unparliamentary, undemocratic. Both sides have their accusations, but now what we are hearing is that there could be an FIR against Rahul Gandhi. BJP wants to...
Greenlam Laminates presents CNN News 18 Primetime Studio.
A very good evening to all of you. You're watching Brass Tacks with me, Akanksha Swaroop. We're coming live to you from the CNN News 18 Primetime Studio, presented by Greenlam Laminates. The final day of the winter session was overshadowed by the fallout from Thursday's face-off between ruling NDA and opposition India bloc members. The end of a tumultuous period characterized by vehement protests, accusations of assault, and a legislative push for simultaneous elections, not to forget even an FIR lodged against the leader of opposition Rahul Gandhi, even as a key bill was also advanced. The session's final hours saw the Lok Sabha swiftly approve a resolution to refer the One Nation, One Election constitutional amendment bills to a joint parliamentary committee. While the Congress continues to accuse the BJP of resorting to diversionary tactics, the issue of Home Minister's remarks on Ambedkar continued to resonate throughout the day, even today. While the charges against the LOP are grave and the violent scenes unprecedented, makes us question what is India's parliament reduced to, given that it's the North Star of democracy, where parliamentarians must embody the culture of democracy through decorum and discipline. As per the winter session of the Lok Sabha, which saw a series of disruptions over issues ranging from Adani to billionaire George Soros' alleged links with the Congress leadership, as well as Home Minister Amit Shah's remarks related to B.R. Ambedkar, we saw a productivity of 57.87%. Makes us question if both the Treasury benches and the opposition are failing to uphold parliamentary tradition, because the parliamentary productivity is only coming down if we just talk about winter sessions. And there's clearly no room left for deliberation and contemplation. Instead, it's being replaced by violence and aggression. Is this democracy? That's the question we'll be posing to our guests tonight. But before we do that, the other big question everybody is asking is that can Rahul Gandhi be disqualified from the parliament? According to Section 8 of the Representation of People Act 1951, a person convicted of any offence and sentenced to imprisonment for not less than 2 years shall be disqualified from the date of the conviction and shall continue to be disqualified for a further period of 6 years since his release. Remember, this was also the provision under which Rahul Gandhi was disqualified last year after he was convicted by a Surat court for defamation. Rahul was reinstated as an MP after the Supreme Court stayed his conviction, removing the grounds for his disqualification. Also, the BJP has now upped the ante against Rahul Gandhi for alleged parliament ruckus, while Congress has hit back at BJP, calling the assault gate a drama. The BJP is arguing that the recent disruptions in parliament have significantly hampered legislative productivity. They claim that these disturbances have resulted in valuable time being wasted, affecting the efficiency of the functioning of the parliament and the government's ability to deliver on its own agenda. The party blames the opposition, particularly the Congress party, for instigating chaos and slowing down the legislative process. In response, the Congress has accused the BJP of using drama inside the parliament